Imagine you have $400,000 sitting in your bank account. You want a specific car more than anything else you have ever wanted, and you have decided today is the day you're finally going to buy it. You walk into the dealership, you tell them you want a Ferrari, and they tell you no. Not because you can't afford it, you can. Not because there's a manufacturing delay, there isn't. They tell you no because Ferrari has decided you have not earned the right to own one yet. This actually happens regularly to people with more money than most of us will ever see in our lives. Billionaires, celebrities, royal family members, people who could buy the dealership itself in cash have been turned away from buying a single Ferrari. That should not make sense in a capitalist economy. A company that turns away paying customers is not supposed to exist, let alone be worth $50 billion. But Ferrari understood something about human desire almost a century ago that most companies never figure out at all. And it starts with a man who didn't even want to sell cars in the first place. Enzo Ferrari was not a businessman. He was a racer. Born in 1898 in Modena, Italy, he grew up around engines. His father ran a small metalworking shop that made parts for the railway. Enzo wanted one thing his entire early life: to drive race cars and to win. He raced for Alfa Romeo through the 1920s and into the 1930s, eventually running Alfa's racing division, Scuderia Ferrari, which fielded Alfa Romeo cars in competition under his management. He was good at it. Good enough that Alfa Romeo eventually absorbed the racing team entirely and pushed Enzo out of the position he had built. In 1939, he was forced to sign an agreement that he would not use his own name in association with racing for 4 years. So for 4 years, he built machine tools instead. And the moment the 4 years were up, in 1947, Enzo Ferrari built his first car under his own name. It was never meant to be sold to the public. The cars existed to fund the racing team. Enzo saw it exactly backwards from how most manufacturers saw their business. He didn't build road cars to make money and use some of that money for racing. He raced because racing was the actual point of his life, and he sold a small number of road cars on the side specifically to pay for it. That inversion, racing first, road cars as an afterthought, is the seed of everything Ferrari became. By the early 1960s, Ferrari was dominating international racing, especially at Le Mans, the most prestigious endurance race in the world. But the company was financially fragile. Enzo had genius for engineering and racing. He did not have genius for running a stable business. And by 1963, Ferrari needed capital badly. Henry Ford II wanted in. Ford Motor Company had been looking for a way into performance and racing prestige, and buying Ferrari outright looked like the fastest path there. Negotiations moved far enough that Ford's lawyers and accountants spent weeks in Italy going through Ferrari's books. Then, at what was supposed to be the final signing, Enzo Ferrari read the fine print on how the deal would actually work. Ford would control the racing budget. Every major racing decision, how much to spend, which races to enter, how the team would be run, would need Ford's approval. Enzo Ferrari walked out of the deal on the spot. Henry Ford II did not take that quietly. He is reported to have been so angry at being publicly rejected by an Italian car company that he gave a direct order to his engineers: build a car that will beat Ferrari at Le Mans, whatever it costs. What followed was the Ford GT40 program, one of the most expensive and aggressive engineering pushes in motorsport history, built with the specific and singular goal of humiliating one man. For several years, Ferrari kept winning. Then, in 1966, Ford GT40S finished first, second, and third at Le Mans, all 3 podium positions. Ferrari, the team that had defined the race for years, was shut out entirely. It was a devastating, humiliating loss, and it very nearly took the company down with it. Ferrari was already financially strained, and the blow to prestige combined with continued financial pressure pushed the company toward genuine crisis. The decision that nearly destroyed Ferrari, refusing Henry Ford's money to protect control of the racing team, is today told as the most legendary act of stubbornness in the history of the automobile industry. Every time it's retold, it makes Ferrari sound more uncompromising, more principled, more untouchable. The near disaster became part of the myth. Ferrari couldn't survive on pride alone, though. By the end of the 1960s, the company genuinely needed a financial partner. In 1969, Fiat stepped in and purchased a 50% stake in Ferrari for roughly $11 million. Crucially, the deal was structured so Enzo Ferrari kept control of the racing division, the one thing he had refused to hand to Ford years earlier. Fiat brought stability, manufacturing scale, and capital. Enzo kept the soul of the company, the track, the team, the decisions about what Ferrari actually was. That structure, outside capital but total control over the brand's identity and racing heritage staying internal, became the template Ferrari has protected ever since, all the way through its eventual public listing on the New York Stock Exchange decades later. Here is the part almost nobody outside the automotive world understands. Ferrari produces roughly 13,000 to 14,000 cars a year. For context, mass-market manufacturers build that many vehicles in days, sometimes hours. Ferrari could almost certainly sell 2, 3, 5 times that volume if it simply built more cars. Global demand for the brand vastly outstrips what comes off the production line every year, and Ferrari has known this for decades. And they don't build more. This is not a supply chain limitation. It's not a factory capacity problem they haven't solved. It is a deliberate, permanent ceiling that Ferrari maintains on purpose, year after year, even as demand grows. Because Ferrari's real product was never the car. The real product is scarcity itself. Think about what happens the moment any desirable object becomes easy to get. The feeling changes. The object is the same, but the meaning attached to it collapses. Ferrari understood, long before modern marketing had language for it, that if they ever met full market demand, the brand would stop being Ferrari. It would just become an extremely expensive sports car company, competing on horsepower and lap times like everyone else. So the waiting list exists on purpose. Some models carry waits stretching years, and that waiting list isn't neutral. It's actively managed. Ferrari tracks its customers, not casually, deliberately, over years. They look at what you already own, whether you've cared for previous Ferraris properly, whether you've been photographed treating the brand with the reverence they expect, and critically, whether you've ever bought a Ferrari and flipped it quickly for profit. If you're flagged as a flipper, the consequences are severe and lasting. You may be blocked from purchasing certain models entirely. In some cases, customers who violate the unwritten rules of the relationship have been cut off from future allocations altogether, regardless of their net worth. Reports over the years have described billionaires, celebrities, and even members of royal families being refused specific models because Ferrari decided, for whatever internal reason, that they weren't the right fit for that particular car. Let that sit for a second. A company said no to a customer with essentially unlimited money on a product that customer was ready to pay full price for without negotiation. No car company can do that unless the car was never really the transaction. What Ferrari sells is membership, access, the feeling of having been chosen rather than simply having paid. But the exclusivity strategy only works for the tiny fraction of the population who could ever plausibly buy one of these cars. Ferrari still needed a way to reach everyone else, the people who will never sit in one, never be vetted, never make the list. That's where the licensing business comes in, and it is enormous. Ferrari generates hundreds of millions of dollars a year from branded merchandise, apparel, accessories, theme park partnerships, and licensing deals that have nothing to do with actually building a car. A keychain with the prancing horse on it, a jacket, a model kit, a ticket to Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. None of those customers will ever own the car. All of them are still buying a piece of the dream. This is the layer most casual fans never think about, but it completes the whole system. At the very top, a handful of vetted buyers get access to the actual product. Beneath that, everyone else gets to buy a small, affordable fragment of the same feeling. The brand monetizes desire at every single price point, from $15 to $500,000, without ever cheapening what sits at the very top. Here's what the story of Ferrari actually teaches. Every business empire we've looked at understood that the visible product is never the actual business. McDonald's sold burgers, but the business was real estate. Nike sold shoes, but the business was identity. Netflix sold shows, but the business was the next 15 seconds after the credits rolled. Ferrari takes this idea to its most extreme, purest form. Ferrari doesn't just sell a product that represents something else. Ferrari sells the distance between you and the thing you want. Desire requires that distance to survive. The moment something becomes fully attainable, the moment anyone with the money can simply walk in and buy it, it stops functioning as an object of longing and becomes just another purchase. So Ferrari protects that distance deliberately. Close enough that owning one feels like it could theoretically happen to you. Far enough that almost no one ever actually gets there. Enzo Ferrari nearly destroyed his own company rather than hand over control of the one thing that mattered to him, the racing team, the soul of the brand. That instinct, protecting the thing that makes Ferrari Ferrari rather than chasing the money that was on the table, is the same instinct that still turns away paying billionaires today. The car was never the point. The longing was. A racer who didn't want to run a car company built one anyway, purely to fund his obsession with winning. He refused to sell to one of the richest men in America because it would have cost him control. That refusal nearly bankrupted him. Decades later, the same company he built turns away people with more money than he ever had in his lifetime. Not because they can't pay, but because Ferrari has decided the car isn't for them yet. That's not bad business. That is, by some measures, one of the most disciplined business models on Earth. Ferrari is worth more per car sold than almost any manufacturer on the planet, precisely because it refuses to sell more of them. You don't buy a Ferrari. Ferrari decides whether you're allowed to want one badly enough.